It's a new year, and I wanted to just real fast just jump back into why are we doing this. We have our mantra at the bottom of the page. It's build products, open source, ask anything, earn badges. And I've got some great stuff for you today. And it's really about building. And an important thing about building is selling. So you want to build it, you want to sell it for somebody. And on this call, we do a lot of interviews and we bring people in and we're like, how do you launch today? How do you launch now? In open source, in project management, there's a mantra. It says, release early, release often. It's mentioned a lot in open source world. It's good anywhere. And actually it is the beginning of Agile. They've got the whole Agile manifesto. They've got Scrum. They've got all these words, but really it's just about releasing early and releasing often. Each one of those words is important. What does release mean? What does early? What does often mean? We really encompass these ideals, right? We're always pushing people to build their products. We hear people here that are in the middle of, building, and we're like, just release it. You can do it. You can iterate later. And I really want to push you a little more. What I want to look at today is open source software that is paid apps, or backwards, stuff that, great software that's out there that is for sale, that source code is open. I want to remove excuses for you. Like that's why I'm here. Is I want you to launch. I want you to launch today. If you're my client, I say I will meet you in London or New York. Usually it's easy for everyone to get to London or New York, and we will get this done this weekend. Published. Usually when I make that offer, either we do it, we actually physically meet up and launch the product, or the company falls apart. And the reason why is because it's kind of a warning. It's like, if you don't launch this fast, you're not going to launch it slow. Really, there's a psychology. We really get into the mystics of making products and delivering here. And we have whole episodes on that, but let's just get specific. So I'm going to throw something on your screen right now. This app is called Imposter. This is a significant app. Let's find it on the App Store. It's called Who's the Imposter? It's a party game. It's great. You should get it. And it's an iOS app. This is great. This is what the future looks like. People that have software, they're selling it on the App Store. They're making money, and you can just go read how it works and steal the ideas. Why go to school and learn all these things that don't matter when you can just go right to people that are making money and steal their ideas and launch the same way? This app, didn't start off popular. Nothing starts off popular. I totally stole the idea from someone else like 10 years ago. And I thought, by default, I'm just open source everything. Teaching is the fastest way to learn. So if I can teach and learn at the same time, we're killing it. This game is great. I mean, we ranked, I think, top 50 in Mexico. Top 50 games is ridiculous. Zero advertising, all word of mouth. I think that was like maybe 6 years ago was when we peaked on the charts. I'm actually rewriting the game now using a different language. I'm switching from Swift to Swift UI. But the way it works is you go make software, and then you go and you just publish the whole thing so that people can run it, and they can just steal your idea. I have a couple different pieces of software. Pull up a couple, and then I'll ask everybody who's here how you feel about this. But this one is a ranking app, 1 star. Not everybody's like into open source. These are just gems. They're out there. You can steal these ideas. One of them, for some reason, is ridiculous popular. It's this little thing. When you're using iOS and you have an app, and there's a thing at the bottom, and it's like, do you want to take a picture, or do you want to select from your library? That feature is actually not straightforward to do, and this one's got 300 stars on it. It took a while, more code than you might expect. I got another one here, which is waveform view. This one's really good too, and this just shows waveforms. And this, if you've got some music playing or some audio or something, and it'll just show the waveform, and it'll show you the progress as it's going through. And it's got some other stuff like you can zoom in or pan it or whatever. This is one of my most popular open source ever. This is actually part of a different app I was working on called Echo, which is for learning speech therapy, to learn other languages, like the pronunciation, stuff like that. Open source as well. This one's got 1,000 stars on it. So these are people that are helping me write the software. We're doing it together. I haven't touched it in years. I still use it. It still works great. I mean, it works great. This is how you're supposed to do open source. You manage the software forever. People use it. And then I kind of went overboard a little bit because you start nerding out. You're writing software, now you're open sourcing software, now you're teaching people. And then the most nerdy thing is to like set standards for other people. People know me, Daddy721, right, in blockchain, but I'm also the guy in iOS world who teaches you how to make your software open source on Swift and iOS. And so this is like a template for getting started, for taking your code and modularizing it to give it away as open source. This, I'll tell you, this thing right here, I haven't touched it in 3 years. It just tells you the steps to open source your software. This is it. This is a recipe, right? This recipe right here, 2 pages, 3 pages, and then some code. Follow it, you follow that recipe to get this code. This right here has got me phone calls from Apple, Google, and Facebook. Recruiters from Apple, Google, and Facebook have called me specifically because of these 2 pages. Give a little love, right? Take something write it down, teach people, and you're going to get rewarded. You're either going to get rewarded by people that are teaching you when you get stuck, and they're on your terms, right? So they're teaching you in your language versus you having to go to YouTube and then skip through 30 minutes of please subscribe. They're coming on your turf. How do you feel about giving your stuff away even though it makes money? Is that like a conflict?
I think it makes sense in a lot of cases, though. I think it's sort of, if you sort of need to run a business out of it, I think you need to at least, find ways that you can sort of be, I guess, sort of, to begin with, at least a sort of main sort of fire underneath this thing to make it something that's valuable. And
my question for you is, if you're making money, would you flip the switch on to just give it away the source code?
Definitely, yeah. Like a key way of activating the hive to change the world in meaningful ways. And especially looking at, things living on chain, then it's like, the source code is by definition sort of open source. So now it's up to you to sort of utilize it in a more meaningful way than others, or new ways that could attract audience and users and find value.
But like we said, our goal here is to change the world.
I have an interesting book that I'd recommend, which is A Tactical Guide to Changing the World by Rick Falkwing. Have you seen it?
No, A Tactical Guide to Changing the World.
So he's founder of the Pirate Party, and also I think Falkwing, like a falcon wing, only in Swedish.
If you don't know what the Pirate Party is, you are in the wrong room. And so here's one of the things I'm working on. So I wanted to actually show you a little bit of Xcode too while we're here. Xcode changes all the time. I'll give everybody a link. There's a good link to Stanford has a great course for iOS or for Swift development. This is the place to learn Swift, and Swift changes all the time. So you have to keep learning it. Now, Swift is such a magical language that let me just sell you on Swift for a minute and why you should learn Swift, even if you don't care about Swift and even if you don't care about Apple. So first of all, Swift is a project. Swift is a project and it's an open source language, okay? And it is administered by Apple, but it has, stakeholders that are not just Apple, and they have a process for evolving the language. That's the governance, philosophy, getting people to work together. This is all important in project management. It's not just about deliverables and milestones and Gantt charts. All right. So you really want to look to projects that are well run and learn from them. All these ideas that I stole them and I implemented them at Ethereum. So this is where the Ethereum 2-week review came from. 2, Swift is a language, and Swift is a language for programming that is got so much going on in it that it really expands your mind just even thinking about it. So we're all used to C, imperative programming, right? So you're going to say like, go do this thing, go do this other thing. This is one type of programming, and Swift supports that, is that it is also functional programming. So this is a little bit more like JavaScript, where you've got some code, but you're not just moving data around, you're moving these utilities around. It's a different way of doing object-oriented stuff. And then we've got declarative programming. This is where you're just saying, this is what I want, and computer, you just go figure that out for me. This is like SQL. There's other languages, but there's just so many different paradigms that are expressed in Swift that if you know one of them, if you know JavaScript or C, and then you learn Swift, you're like, okay, I could do that. And you do Swift more like a C person. And then you learn it a little more and you're like, well, there's actually another way to do that. And then you learn it enough when you're like, oh, and it changes what you know about C. because all languages work with all paradigms. You can do reactive programming in C. You can do object-oriented programming in C. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But it will open your mind and it will allow you to be better at building products, not code, products. It helps you think of how to build products. And then, of course, my theory is that people who build products build systems and build organizations of people too. 037, are you giving away all your products for free, even the ones that make money, as open source?
You know what I usually do is I do make parts of the app free, but sometimes I'll like hold on to certain things. And I just do that just so I get an idea if people are even interested in the app to begin with. Another reason is sometimes my code is a little rushed, and I need to make it better for public consumption, adding comments and stuff like that. And so stuff like that, I got to make it pretty, of course, before I release it. But kind of stayed away from Swift in particular, just because you need Xcode and you need to be on a Mac. The other thing is the App Store dilemma that everyone's been talking about. The whole them taking a huge profit margin, and also the rigorous approval that you need to go through Apple, and of course the membership for their App Store too. That's also a cost barrier.
Oh, it sucks. Releasing software through Apple sucks. I do feel like the $99, like if that's the barrier, like I've given people the $99, people are online and they're like, I've got this product, they're releasing it. I'm like, sign your code. Don't just put binaries up on your website. Sign your code, right? And they're like, well, I don't pay that. Here's $99. Take $90, go sign up, set it up, put your public key on Apple's server. They're going to notarize it. They're going to give your key back, and then you're going to sign your software. So there's a security aspect here too. I don't like running unsigned software anywhere. And the Apple is at least good about that because they're making money on that, at least the $99. And I don't see that as much elsewhere. Like there's not a robust revocation and software signing stuff on Linux for sure. You build from the main branch on GitHub. Okay, well, how did that software get there? Like, there's so many vulnerabilities, and at least signing your software is at least a start.
Yeah, and to be fair, the $99 is almost equivalent to like the gas price you would, if you're creating like a smart contract or something like that. And that doesn't come with any of those nice, vetting, the huge vetting process by the Apple employees and whatnot. The question I have regards to the iOS range is, do you always need to be on the latest Mac OS to access the latest iOS target versions? So
no.
Yeah, you could, I guess. Okay.
You don't need the latest Mac, but you do need the Xcode. You got so many simulators. There's like 50 gigabytes of simulators on my computer.
I used to use Snow Leopard, and I think I tried updating Xcode, but it wouldn't let me, and I couldn't update Snow Leopard beyond what it was then.
It was I was into internet chess, and Fritz was the only Mac internet chess app forever. But it ran on like PowerPC, like really old stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, and there's another old Mac app called Eavesdrop, which was made for listening in on network traffic and it was really nice. It was a lot nicer than Wireshark or whatever they call it now, and just great software. And I was like, okay, I'm going to convert this from like 1999 to today, and that was the mission I was on. And somehow I got the source code. I got it from like SourceForge. Okay, step one is compile this. So I have to go get a computer that's running like 1999 Mac stuff. Now, as an Apple developer, you could do that. I have virtual machines from classic Mac. Like I have a virtual machine from like System 7, early 90s Mac.
Oh man. The HFS file system must have been like weird for you to like format and whatnot, because I bet it was like a lot different for those builds back then.
But it works because they just give you a virtual machine and you can download them from Apple. You don't have to get them off Pirate Bay. You log on to Apple, you go into Developer, and there's just like old images, and you get old versions of Xcode and you get old versions of Mac. You boot it up, you install it, and then you snapshot it, and then you can do your stuff. But this is something you're going to get with Apple. Apple's going to give you Mac OS X Server 10.3 in a virtual machine that runs on Silicon, even though the original was on PowerPC, and it's going to work. Microsoft
awesome.
is very good with this too.
Apple would do that.
So I worked at the Navy, and we had the complete list of Microsoft software. I mean, every CD, every version, a binder, because we were doing like things on ships, and the ships are out at sea, and you can't be like, we're going to mail you a CD. Come to Surface. Come to Surface. Let me mail you this CD because you need to upgrade your server. Like, That is not a phone call you're having with a submarine. All right. Instead, you need to have that exact thing on your dev environment. And this is before virtual machines. Like you would just have real machines and you would just install that version with that patch on the machine. And it has to work. Like, again, these are people on ships at sea. And Microsoft supports that. So, and they're known for this. They're known for 16-bit runtimes still running. They still work, right? Like this is what you get with Apple and Microsoft. Linux, not so much. Like, good luck.
Oh,
You can barely.
Yeah, you're on your own.
Linux is like, you've got the grub bootloader. When you upgrade Linux, once in a while, it's just not going to boot. So you have to downgrade immediately.
I had this like book that just teaches you all the ins and outs of grub, and it is like one of the thickest books I've ever seen. And yeah, it's horrible. That's like all the help you get. You're
in for a fun night. It's like, I wonder if I should customize my menu, my menu.lst.
My background image, yeah.
Deliria, are you around? So I wanted to tell you, I was at Beeple's event in South Carolina. Same type of stuff.
Actually, I met him before the NFT and all of that. I was a follower of his because he used to be a really cool VJ person who would give away lots of video loops. That's how I met him for the first time.
And that really, I was
gave
reading
away his work,
and it's used everywhere. And it was great. I was reading his story. That was there's a plaque there talking about his video loops, and he was saying, I put all these loops out there, and I just got so much coverage. And he was commissioned, so they do commissions. So you give stuff away, but people want to commission you. People want to give you money. It's not just like, oh, I've got a thing, I should sell it. It's like, no, you've got an idea in your head, something that's valuable to you. Give that away and let other people tell you what they want. That's where money is. You don't just have something and be like, oh, I'm going to sell this. That's very short-sighted and focused on yourself first.
Yeah, and I feel like as an artist, you can always make more. At the beginning of, your art career, or anything, you kind of pay your dues, you show your work. And it's also sometimes a privilege to have a stage or an opportunity to show your work. And sometimes all it takes is like the correct person to look at your work, like maybe not everyone will be vibing on and understanding the value. And I think that with people, that was a big part of his success, was that he would give away his work. Also, when he started doing his daily 3D renders, he also gave away the complete project folders with all the assets and the contents that he produced alongside the video tutorial. So he will give away, as much as he could for free for a long time. But that's how he got people like me to respect him, follow him, and be like followers. Like, well, a bunch of us follow him for the pure, understanding and respect of the artistry itself.
You get it. That's why I show up on these calls, to talk to people like you.